blood inside me, inside me, inside me. We know that it works, Almighty, 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 Creator of earth, His blood inside me, inside me, inside me. We know that it works, Who should we fear? We got omnipotent, Almighty Father, the Father of Abraham, the Father of Isaac and Jacob, the Almighty, and why would we play with? He sent His Son for the nation, the covenant back in our faces. Y'all, He with us, don't care what we face. Where else we gon' go? We gon' trust in His word. Stay on that narrow, don't trust in no turns. Eyes to the east, everybody gon' learn. Put where your sins are, they all about to burn. Past overcoming, got His blood on me. Unforgiveness, let it go, I got the love on me. All the leave, I got the peace, I got the dove on me. See the kingdom of y'all, I got a bug on me. Almighty, 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 Creator of earth, His blood inside me, inside me, inside me. We know that it works, Standing for many years, now we back. Mind been renewed from this world, we detached. The judgment is coming by His will, that's a slap. The wilderness is coming by His hand, that's a fact. The ark of the covenant, I was willing, that's a spot. Where He gon' get us? It was prophesied in the land, you was sold by His blood, you gon' rise, you gon' rise. Babylon falling, it all gon' go wrong. Keep them commandments, we tryna go home. Before you serve me, go serve Him on that throne. Walk as He walk, I'ma clone. Where He gon' get us? He commandments, He gon' fight for. I'ma see how He the light for. Almighty, 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 Creator of earth, His blood inside me, inside me, inside me. We know that it works, Almighty, 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 Creator of earth, His blood inside me, inside me, inside me. We know that it works, Almighty, 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 Creator of earth, His blood inside me, inside me, inside me. We know that it works, Almighty, Almighty, Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Breaking Strongholds Ministries, good afternoon, YouTube and Facebook. How you all doing? Sorry I'm coming on so late, but I have been under the weather trying to fight it so that I could be able to just feel a little bit better today. Hopefully, I went to work yesterday and I made it through it, but I don't know what happened. But I will get through it. But I hope your week has been a good week. I hope the Most High truly have blessed you over and abundantly with love, kindness, and joy. I hope He has blessed you tremendously with wisdom and knowledge and understanding of your word, of His word. I hope the Most High really truly have blessed your offsprings. I hope He has blessed them with wisdom and knowledge and protection. I
I hope you really truly have. I'm just going to go ahead and get started today. Let me go ahead and read Exodus chapter 20 verses 1 through 17. And it reads, and Ananias spake all these words, saying, I am Yahuwah thy Ananias, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, and thou shalt have no other Ananias before me. And thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or anything that is above heaven, in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah thy Ananias, am a jealous Ananias, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahuwah thy Ananias in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah thy Ananias. In it thou shalt not do any works, thou nor thy sons, nor thy daughter, thy manservants, nor thy maidservants, nor thy cattle, nor thy strangers that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yahuwah blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy fathers and thy mothers, that thy days be long upon the land which Yahuwah thy Ananias giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Let us pray. O radiance of heavens and earth, all creators of the heavens and earth, of all radiance and vibrations, soften the grounds of our beings and carve out a space with us where your presence can abide. Fill us with your creativity so that we may be empowered to bear fruits of our missions. Let each of our actions bear fruit in accordance with our desires within your purpose for our life. Bestow us with the wisdom of produce and share what each being needs to grow and flourish. Untie the entangled threads of destiny that binds us as we release others from the entanglement of the past mistakes. Do not let us be seduced by that which distracts us from our true purpose, but illuminates the opportunities of present moments. For you are the ground and the fruitful vision, the creator and power and fulfillment, as of all is gathered and made whole once again. So let it be. Yeah, so like I said, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I hope everyone is doing well. I know that it is a bug going around. It is a bug going around, and it is affecting a lot of people. It is affecting a lot of people. I know maybe about 45 to 50 people got sick last week. So I know that it is something going around. We have to be very careful who we are around, because we can catch what they have. We got to be very careful. I know a church is closing down tomorrow because of that. So make sure you're very mindful of where you go and who you're around, because it is airborne. We understand what's going on in the world. We understand what they're doing.
Yep.
So just understand that. Protect yourself, okay? I had last week, right? I know I was talking to the Most High, right? I said, why is my YouTube numbers are only staying at 77? I said, Most High, why my numbers are only staying at 77? And I know that I watch YouTube 4 or 5. I say hypothetically, I have did it on numerous occasions where I have watched my YouTube videos 4 or 5 times intentionally to see what the numbers change. And YouTube will not change my numbers. They will keep them at a certain number. YouTube will keep my numbers at a certain number. Facebook will do the same thing. They would intentionally keep my numbers down. And I said, okay, so let me look up. I said, why is my numbers only at 77? He said, Orlando, look up what the number 77 means. And I said, okay. And then it says, when you encounter the number 77 frequently, it is a confirmation that you are actively embracing spiritual growth and deepening your connection with the divine energy. This number serves as a divine message, urging you to continue your explorations of the spiritual realm and strengthening your spiritual life and connection. The number 77 is for my members, for the numbers who have selected. The amount of people that I got subscribed to me is a message to me to make me continue to push for my spiritual connections to Yahuwah. Because sometimes we look at things, we look at the numbers, but not actually trying to find out the meaning of the number. So when the Most High told me to look it up, He got me looking at my subscriptions as an encouragement, saying keep doing what you are doing. Don't stop. Don't look at the numbers, but look at this number. So it got me to thinking last week. I was like, wow. It says also the number 77 means that you are showing alignment with the goals of your soul path. It's telling me my true purpose is what I'm doing right now. Like I told you last week about me trying to align with what I'm really trying to do in life. Okay? So I just wanted to bring that to you all's attention. Whoever look at me on YouTube, and when I look at my subscriptions, it might go up now because YouTube may want to change it. But it's giving me a notification that, hey, you're doing the right thing, Orlando. Just keep up the good work. Okay? So let us turn to 1 Samuel chapter 8. 1 Samuel chapter 8. And I'm only going to be dealing with this verse 5. Because I think we need to understand this this verse. So this verse that I'm gonna read. And the verse is, And I have taught on this lesson once before, but I'm just going to teach on this verse. Okay? It says, and he said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. Then it said, read it, said it again, it says, and he said unto them, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. If I may give a title of the text today, the title of the text is, In all thy getting, get understanding. In all thy getting, get understanding. Okay? And then we're talking about the two words today. Two words today. Two words is both of them in the 12th century. Is discipline. Discipline means subject to laws, rules, orders, precepts, or regulations. As the troops are under excellent discipline. Okay, the word is discipline. It's a 12th century word. It means subjects to laws, rules, orders, precepts, or regulations. As the troops are under excellent discipline, that is what they're meaning. They're up under the laws. But it also means, discipline means treatment that corrects or punishes. Order necessary for instructions. In order for you to have proper instructions, you first have to have discipline. And see, when I was looking at this movie this on Wednesday, it was called Healing the Heart. And this guy went to go talk to this guy about how to learn how to fly fish. When he first came in, the guy made the student clean up the storage room. And what he was establishing first was discipline from the student. And what the Most High is saying, in order for you to be successful in this life, we first have to have discipline. That's where disciples come from. The word disciple, if you're going to say I'm a disciple for Christ, that means that you're saying that I'm disciplined in the laws, statutes, and commandments of Christ. Okay? The second one is obedience. It's a 12th century word. It means the practice or virtue of submission to a higher power or authority. The performance of what is required or enjoined by authority, or the abstaining from what is prohibited in compliance with the commands. Okay? But this story is also talking about consequences. Consequences of when you are not obedient and when you are not disciplined. When you're not disciplined and when you're not obedient, you're going to have consequences. Consequence is that which follows from any action, cause, principle, or series of actions. It means in logic, a preposition collected from the agreement of other previous propositions. The conclusion which results from reasons or arguments. Connections of cause and effect. Okay. So now, when we're looking at the story, looking at this part of the story of Samuel, Samuel was the judge. And judge basically means ones who pronounce a sentence, a vindicate, or punish, defend, plead, or reason. Only thing that Samuel was able to do was to be able to go and tell the children of Israel, if they do this, this is what was going to happen. If they do this, this is what's going to happen. Okay, he will also be able to go and talk to the Most High for the children of Israel. And he will also come back and tell the children of Israel, this what will happen to you if you did not obey the laws, statutes, and commandments. He would not be able to bring the sentencing, the action part. Only the thing that he was able to do is tell people what was going to happen. And the Most High will render the action himself in the masculine sense of the spirit. So when you're looking at, when this talks about Samuel being a judge, he is making appointments. He's telling people, you're not going to be there. You're not going to be the king no more. You will be the king. He's anointing them. He's telling them that this is it for you. That was his position, but he did not have the total authority to remove people out of their seat. But what was going on in chapter 7 is when, let us go back to chapter 7 let's go to chapter 7 verse 3. Because what was actually going on is the children of Israel was having an entanglement, a war with the Philistines. Ashtar. Okay, it says, and Samuel spoke unto all the house of Israel, saying, if ye do return unto Yahuwah with all your mind, then put away the strange gods and Ashtar from among you, and prepare your minds unto Yahuwah, and serve him only, and he will deliver you out of the hands of the Philistines. That is one of the most important verses that we have to understand in this teachings. It says, let me read it again. And Samuel spake unto all the house of Israel, saying, if ye do return unto Yahuwah with all your mind, then put away the strange gods and Ashtar from among you, and prepare your minds unto Yahuwah, and serve him only, and serve him only, and he will deliver you out of the hands of the Philistines. See, it was something that the children of Israel had to do in order for them to be delivered. Okay? So then let us go to verse 4. It says, then the children of Israel did put away Balaam and Ashtar and serve Yahuwah only. Let's look and see what happened. And Samuel gathered all Israel to Mizpah, and and Samuel said, gather all Israel to Mizpah, and I will pray for you unto Yahuwah. Because that's the only thing he really could do. He could intercede for the children of Israel. That's what a judge could do. And they gathered together to Mizpah and drew water and poured it out before Yahuwah as if they was crying. It was a symbolization there. And fast on that day, and they and said there, we have sinned against Yahuwah. And Samuel judged the children of Israel in Mizpah. Listen to verse 7. And when the Philistines heard that the children of Israel was gathered together to Mizpah, the masters of the Philistines, when you see the word Lord in lowercase, that means master. Okay? That means master in our words. The lords, the masters of the Philistines, went up against Israel. And when the children of Israel heard it, they was afraid of the Philistines. And the children of Israel said unto Samuel, cease not to cry unto Yahuwah our Ananiah for us, that he will save us out of the hand of the Philistines. And Samuel took a sucking lamb and offered it for a burnt offering wholly unto Yahuwah. And Samuel cried unto Yahuwah for Israel, and Yahuwah heard him. And as Samuel was offering up the burnt offerings, the Philistine drew near to battle against Israel. But Yahuwah thundered with a great thunder on that day upon the Philistines, and discomfited them, and they were smitten before Israel. And the men of Israel went out of Mizpah and pursued the Philistines and smote them until they came under Bethkar. Understand that. The children of Israel asked for forgiveness. They had Samuel praying and fasting and doing the altar sacrifice for Yahuwah's grace and mercy and protection. And Yahuwah came through for them. And he was able to protect them from the Philistines. So if he did this in chapter 7, why would in chapter 8, why would they want to turn around in chapter 8 want a man to be their king? Why would they want a man to turn around and be their king? Let's go back to verse 8, verse 5. And said unto him, behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Make now us a king to judge us like all the nations. lot of the times Yahuwah do works in our life and he's continuing to do work in our life, but sometimes we overlook what he's doing in our life and want to be more like other people regardless of what we see what he's doing in our life. A lot of the times Yahuwah is fighting for us, but we continue to want to be like other nations. I understand what it says in the first part of 1 Samuel chapter 8 verse 5. And said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. They was upset because Samuel was walking in the Most High's ways, but his offsprings, his sons, was not. So because their sons was not walking in the Most High's ways, they said, okay, we would rather just have a king to rule over us from the physical sense. And I remember, and I'm not saying that Martin Luther King was a great man. I'm not saying that Martin Luther King did this or that. But he was a monumental. He did some great, he had some great movements. When you look at Dr. King and what he was fighting for, he understood that he had caused his people to go into a burning house after the fact, but the intentions and the motives that he had was very good for his people. But once he was deleted and the people that came behind him was like the sons of Samuel. Look at all the leaders that came behind Dr. King. All of them was not about the people. They was about themselves. So now, the leaders that came behind him was Jesse, Andy, Sharpton, all these other leaders that came, Abernathy, all those leaders that came behind King did not have the same agenda as King. So when you look at that, what will be the consequences? What will be the consequences of us following man more so than following Yahuwah? Because in chapter 7, we was following Yahuwah. We just had an intercessor to go pray for us in chapter 7. But now in chapter 8, now we're asking a man to really be over us in chapter 8. Let me see something. In Psalms 146:3 it says, put not your trust in prince, nor the son of man, in whom there is no help. See, at that point, when we saw that Samuel's sons and the leaders after King was doing wicked and demonic things, we continue to put our trust in man. And they continue to lead us down the road of destruction. Okay? And what this says, and let us go down to, and we're talking about consequences, right? We're talking about consequences. When you allow a physical man to be head of you, you're going to go through some consequences because of his own objective and mission, and not the Most High's. And that's something that we got to understand, because this is basically talking about the election that's getting ready to come up. That's all you're hearing is people talking about, we want Biden or we want Trump. And I'm going to show you some stuff about Biden, and I'm going to show you some stuff about Trump. I'm going to even go back to you a little bit about how our community actually started to be destroyed. So, when we're actually talking about trying to vote, because that's what they did. They voted, they wanted to vote somebody in to be head over them. And not understanding that you had the Spirit over you, and he was protecting you as long as you did what the Spirit asked you to do. But as soon as you started to waver and you got afraid, that's when you said, I wanted a man to be over me. So the Most High said, okay, the consequences of you having a man over you is this right here. But let's go down to chapter 10. 1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 10. And Samuel told all the words of Yahuwah unto the people that ask of him a king. And he said, this would be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He would take your sons and adopt and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. He will appoint him captains over thousands and captains over 50, and will set them to hear his ground, and to reap his harvest, to make his instruments of war, and instruments of his chariots. He will take your daughters to be a confessionaries, to be cooks, and to be bakers. He will take your fields and your vineyards and your olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants. He will take the tenth of your seed and of your vineyards, and to give his officers and to his servants. He will take your men servants and your maiden servants, and your goodliest young men, and your asses, and put them to his work. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants. Listen to that. Understand that. Let me go back to that one again real fast. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants. Those who physically work in an occupation where you go in and clock in to anybody's job, before you get your check, the government gets its portion. Before you can even see what you're going to go bring home today for next week, 33% of your check is already gone. That's called taxes. Then it says, and ye shall cry out in that day because of your king, which ye shall have chosen you. And read it over. And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king. Ye shall have chosen you, and Yahuwah will not hear you in that day. The consequences of us wanting to have a man over us as king causes a lot of problems. This election that is getting ready to come up, and these things is getting ready to happen. The Most High is not hearing the people's voice. Who's pleading? The Most High is not hearing you because you are continuing to want a physical man to rule over you. When you continue, like I was telling my wife the morning, when we was in the bed, and I was saying, how can a person have so much influence and power over someone else that they will cause another person to go sell their bodies for this next person? How much influence does a pimp has over a prostitute? How did this man have this much influence over this woman for this woman to want to go give herself up day in, day out, whether it's raining or whether it's sleeting, whether it's cold? This woman is out there on the streets selling herself each and every day for this pimp. And this woman is basically and literally buying into a hope of a big house, a hope of fancy clothes, a hope of nice clothes, a hope of a nice car, a hope of something fantastic. How could you have, how can a man have that much power over a woman to get them to be able to do these things? And how can somebody have so much hope in a man that a man will do certain things for them that they won't even do for themselves? Let me tell you, let me show you the consequences of us, and I'm just going to read titles. The consequences of us having hope in the government. Okay? The first one I have. See, a lot of the times when we are talking about depending, because most of the time when people are voting, they say, I'm rendering my authority, I'm rendering my everything over to the government because I trust the government would make right decisions. But it says, what I just sold to you, verses 10 through 18, that these people who we put over us do not care about us. They only care about what they're going to get at the end of the day. That's why it says he will appoint him. He will take your daughters. He would take your fields. He would take a tenth of your seed. He would take your men servants, and he would take a tenth of your sheep. That's what they would do over you. When you start to appoint people over you, they're going to take advantage of you. Okay, and I want us to understand something. Let's look at the whole system as a whole. The U.S. Public Health Service untreated syphilis studies at Tuskegee. This came out of the CDC. We all know in 1932, the United States used the syphilis experiment on people who was living in Tuskegee, Alabama for over 40 years. We understand that the United States government had the penicillin to get rid of syphilis maybe 15 years after the experiment started. But the United States government, excuse me, the United States had the penicillin to get rid of syphilis 15 years after the experiment. But they let it go on for another 20 to 25 years to see how it would affect the black population of people. This is your United States government, who you are voting into political offices. That's the CDC, the United States government, and the public health, U.S. Public Health Service. Understanding that when you start to listen to the United States Public Health Services, you got to understand, okay, what was the consequences of me relying on them so much back in the days, where they caused so many people to die from syphilis? That's one. Okay, in the 60s, and I don't went over these articles before, but I want you to, and it says, in all thy getting, get understanding on why you are asking for this. Because if you really truly understood the consequences of voting for people to rule over you, you got to understand, he would take your tenth, he would take your men servants, he would take the tenth of your seed, he would take your fields, he would take your daughters, he would appoint him chariots over thousands, and he said, this it would be the manner of the king that which shall rule over you. And he would take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots to be horsemen. and some shall run before his chariots. Understand that. We understand the 1932 syphilis experiment. Now let us look at the CIA Contra crack cocaine controversy. Okay? It says on August 18, 1996, and I read this before, the San Juan Mercury News published the first installment of a three-part series of articles concerning crack cocaine. The CIA agency in the Nicaragua Contra Army. The introduction to the first installment of the series reads, for the better part of a decade, listen to this, for a better part of a decade, a San Francisco Bay Area drug ring sold tons of cocaine to Crips and Bloods, street gangs of the Los Angeles, and funded millions in drug profits to a Latin American guerrilla army ran by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency. This drug network opened the first pipeline between Colombia cocaine cartel in the black neighborhoods of Los Angeles, a city now known as the crack capital of the world. The cocaine that flood in the helped spark a crack explosion in the urban America and provided cash and connection needed for LA gang to buy automatic weapons. Okay, U.S. Public Health, the CIA, I got another one. When did crack cocaine epidemic hit black communities first and worst? Why did crack cocaine epidemic hit black communities first and worst? Let's read. On September 5th, 1989, President George H. Bush, W.H.W. Bush, appeared on television to discuss what is called a nation grievous domestic threat. Sitting at his desk in the Oval Office, Bush held up a bag of crack cocaine that has been seized in a park across the White House, saying, "It's as innocent looking as a candy, but it's turning our cities into battle zones." Bush is the one that created war on drugs, not realizing that they are the ones that bringing it into our community. So when they brought it into our community, they were saying that they was having a war on us because the drug was in our community. And this was the President of the United States. And he said unto him, "Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations." So when we ask for a king to judge us like all the nations, we get the Public Health Department, we get the CIA agencies, we get George H.W. Bush, who said, "Let's have a war on crime," where they brought the drugs into the black community. They wasn't saying that we're going to have a blood war on black community. We're going to have a war on the drugs that's in the black community that the black people sell. Okay. Just as Jackie Robinson helped bring an end to the old Jim Crow laws of segregation, the death to limb bias which sparked the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act helped usher in the new Jim Crows of mass incarceration in America. The 1986 Act hushed focus on mandatory minimum sentences and disparities in between crack and cocaine. Understand that. The government that brought drugs into our community then turned around and said we're going to have a war on drugs that's in our community. Then turn around and say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to make a disparity between crack and cocaine. Those who have a crack in their hand going to get 10 times the harsher sentence than those that have cocaine in possession. So those who have crack, we're going to send you to 10 years in prison. Who may have the same amount of powder, we're going to send them to 1 year of sentence. But this is the people that you appointed over you and you voted for. The 3-strike rule regulation came from Bill Clinton. Okay, this happened 2 years ago. This happened 3 years ago. Get vaccinated or lose your job. President Biden unconstitutional mandate.
Executive Order 140, 43.
Executive order, what is it?
I think it was 14043.
Read it, pull it up. Okay, get vaccinated or lose your job. President Biden unconstitutional mandate. President Biden is more concerned about government control than the safety of our workforce or the protection of our individual rights. On September 9, 2021, President Biden issued an executive order requiring all federal employees and contractors to be fully vaccinated. Then it says, the alternative, termination.
That was it.
That's what Biden said.
Yeah.
But
discipline action was even to the point of escorting you out of your job.
so you're talking Motown is Joetown. Motown is Joetown. Motown is Joetown. But Joe just told people in 2021, if you don't get vaccinated, you cannot have a job. And he said unto him, behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. Get vaccinated or lose your job. Did the 1994 crime bill cause mass incarceration? Who wrote the 1994 crime bill? Who wrote it? Motown is Joetown. That's who wrote the 1994 crime bill. It was all a setup. Can't you see that?
Yeah.
But we still putting our trust in man. But every bill that has been passed, every law that's been passed, has been negatively affecting us. But we continue to want to vote for these people and not just obey the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High.
Right.
Did the 1994 crime bill cause mass incarcerations? Understand that this is when cocaine and crack was hitting our community at an enormous rate. So they was killing three birds with one stone. They was killing 2 and 3 generations. They was killing the family structure. They was killing the economics with one stone. And they was feeding their judicial system with enslavement. The Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, commonly known as the Crime Bill, was sponsored by Motown Joetown 26 years ago. It is often blamed for extending tough on crime policies that overly criminalize black Americans. Is this the narrative warrant? This issue is complicated, but we will do our best to make some sense of it. Although the 2020 Democratic National Convention mentioned the Violence Against Women's Act, it did not dwell on the more controversial part of the crime bill. Since the beginning of the presidential race, however, former President Joe Biden has been asked repeatedly about his role in creating this bill. It came up during his vice president selection with Congressional Black Caucus Chair Karen Bass, who was under consideration as his running mate, sponsored with a shred history lesson. Understanding that everybody know that Joe Biden sponsored the bill that gave a mass incarceration to black men. But we're not looking at where it came from. It came from the CIA, which isn't a government issue. And we're dealing with president with Bush, Reagan, Clinton. We're not looking at the people who really sign these executive orders and these laws into play. Everything that goes through Congress got to be signed by the president. Okay. Donald Trump and the Central Five, the racial charge rise of a demagogue. You got a lot of young brothers and sisters want to vote for Trump because the simple fact is economics. Wanting to vote for Trump because of economics. And I'm going to say something to y'all. The only reason why the economy does well and the only reason why the economy does bad is because of the fluctuation of the taxes. If they just kept taxes as a flat rate, we will not have the issues that we have. If we had a flat rate on taxes, we will not have the problems that we have. But because every time the Democrats, they go into office, they raise the taxes, jobs goes up because there's more money circulating through the system because of they're making more money off of our back. So money going into the governmental system. So when a Republican get in office, what they do? They cut taxes. So when they cut taxes, that means the jobs are lost. So that means the high crime is up. There's not a lot of entrepreneurship that is developed during Republicans. It's just they're playing with the numbers and playing with the money. Donald Trump in the Central Five, the racial charge rise of a demagogue. In 1989, five Latino boys were wrongly convicted of raping a woman jogging in New York City. Leading the charge against them was a real estate mogul whose divisive rhetoric can be found in his presidential campaign today. Yosef Shalom was 15 years old when Donald Trump demanded his execution for a crime he did not commit. Nearly 3 decades before the rambunctious billionaire began his run for president, before he called for a ban on before he called a ban on Muslims entering the United States, for the expulsion of all undocumented migrants, before he branded Mexicans as rapists, and was accused of mocking the disabled, Trump called for the reinstatement of the death penalty in New York following a horrific rape case which 5 teenagers were wrongly convicted. You're voting for somebody who even said Africans, that whatever they call that land that they have or whatever they called it, I forgot it, but you willing to vote for a man who you know is racist just so that your money, your pocket can be sustained. You're going to depend on a man who's racist so that you can be able to think that you're going to make some money. Joe Biden don't have no moral compass. He's just the same as Donald Trump, but just in a different politics setting. You mean to tell me you're going to vote for Biden even though he calls for a mass incarceration of your people and ain't done nothing for your people, but then you're going to turn around and vote for Donald Trump because you think you're going to put some money in your pocket? That means you're actually selling your soul to Donald Trump. Trump say racist things about black voters, while some defending him. This is what Trump think about you. Last month, in a room full of Washington, most prominent black conservative, Donald Trump declared that black voters are drawn to him because of his criminal indictment and mugshot. Do you understand that? Do you see the logic of leaders?
Leading the nation.
Look at the leaders that you are appointing over you. Look at the leaders that that you think care for you. Also, Donald Trump, he also helped push in the jab with warp speed. Y'all remember that when he said warp speed? I forgot. Warp speed. I'm not gonna go back to it, but Donald Trump, when he was in 2020, he helped push out the jab, saying that we're gonna get it out to everybody in warp speed. He was participating, or he was setting the stage for Biden by bringing it out with warp speed.
Yeah, that was 2020.
Yeah, 2020.
Decent warp speed.
Yeah, 2020, in December 2020, he came out with the warp speed right before Biden got into office.
Yeah.
Also, right before Trump got out of office, he electrocuted 5 brothers on death row.
Yeah, sure did. Warp speed. 300 million doses.
300 million doses ready to go out in warp speed.
By January 2021.
By January 2021, by any means necessary. Tearing down America, tearing down black America. Policing is not the only kind of state violence in the mind of 20th centuries. The governments, backed by the federal money, demolished hundreds of black neighborhoods in the name of urban renewal. James Baldwin visited San Francisco in 1963 to film a documentary about the U.S. racism. He encountered neighborhoods in turmoil. The city was seizing properties through eminent domain, raising them and tearing them over, raising them and turning them over to private developers. Part of a mass federal urban renewal program. Nearly 5,000 families, no fewer than 20,000 residents, the majority of them people of color, were being displaced from rental homes, private properties, and businesses in the western additional neighborhood. Baldwin spoke to a black teenager who just lost his home and watched his neighborhood be destroyed. He told Baldwin, "I got no country, I got no flag." Soon after, Baldwin would say, "I couldn't say you do. I couldn't say you do. I don't have any evidence to prove that he does." House passes defense bill, automatically registering men 18 to 26 for draft. It is now mandatory for all male U.S. citizens to register for the Selective Service, also known as military draft. When they turn 18, failure to register is classified as a felony. This is the government that you choose to have over you as a people.
And the draft that ended, we didn't agree with that.
I'm going to conclude with this.
And all I get understanding before you talk about somebody who ain't voting.
It says, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Because they has rejected knowledge, I will also reject them. That thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the laws of thy God. I will also forget thy children. Let me read you one more. Let's go to 1 Samuel. 1st chapter 10 and 22. See, a lot of time, the Most High is telling us we can't have two masters. Joe Biden is running off of women productive rights. Women productive rights. It is telling the women's productive rights is basically telling a woman she has a right to want to exterminate the baby in her womb or not. Because of what Trump is trying to do, the Republican Party, what Trump is trying to do, the Democrats is moving against it because they want to give women the right to exterminate a baby in their womb. I have made a lot of mistakes in my life. I've done some things that I know I shouldn't have done, but I did them. And I have repented for them. And I ask the Most High to forgive me for them. But it was never intentional. If you don't want to get pregnant, don't have sex. If you're not trying to be a woman with purity, and if you're not trying to be a quote-unquote Christian, if you call yourself being a Christian, but you're out here with 10 to 15 different men, and you just being promiscuous, you can't say that you're following Christ. You can't say that. You can't say that. See, when they brought in that birth control pill, that gave women the right to be promiscuous. And see, we bought into that. And when we bought into that, you lost your purity. But then they just kept adding on to it and adding on to it and adding on to it and adding on to it. Now they're telling you it's okay for you to exterminate a baby that's in a fetus that's in you. What kind of logic does that make? I understand certain situations. I understand certain things. I do. I get it. But to intentionally do things just because of your motives, but then you want to turn around and say, oh, God, love me. God, love me. And you voting this man in because you want to just have the reason to want to exterminate a baby for reproduction rights? What kind of sense that make? And then for the people who just want to vote Donald Trump in just because of some fact that they think that they're gonna make he gonna make their life better. Why don't start with you? You making your life better. You making better financial choices. You being disciplined in what you're doing and you being obedient to the Most High. Why do your success and failure depends on somebody else? Why your success and failure can't depend on you and your relationship with the Most High? Why does it have to be depending on what Trump do? A rich man don't care about who's in office. He's still gonna make money because he's looking at the opportunities. How can I manage? What I need to do? That's why I say, in all thy getting, get understanding. Understand the games that are being played with you.
Yep. I don't know which one it is.
Because every time you choose somebody to be over you, you and your family gonna face consequences. I'm closing with this.
Not health. They gonna vote for him for health.
Excuse me. Excuse me. 1 Samuel 10 and 22. I want you to hear this. It says, therefore inquire of Yahuwah further. If the man should yet come hither, and Yahuwah answers, behold, he has hid himself among the staff. The stuff. He has hid himself among the stuff. Let us go back to chapter 8. Go down to verse 18. The consequences of us not being disciplined to you and obedient to Yahuwah's word, and we want to choose to have somebody to rule over us. And ye shall call out in that day because of your king. Listen to that. And ye shall call out in that day because of your king, which ye shall have chosen you, because you chosen this king, and you're going to cry out because of him. Yahuwah will not hear you in that day. So that concludes the teaching for me. A lot of the time, I don't see Muslims voting. There may be some voting, but I don't see very many voting. Because they don't put their trust in man. They put their trust in their creator. We as a people, we have to put our trust in Yahuwah. We got to do that. We got to do it. Because as long as we continue to put our trust in man, Yahuwah will not hear you in that day. So that concludes the teaching for today. I hope you all okay. Forgive me for doing what I did. I'm still feeling under the weather. make sure that you are keeping your system as clean as possible. If you can, go get a detox. My wife does a very good detox. Go do something for yourself to keep your immune system very healthy in these days, because I really truly believe in the next couple of months it's going to be some really trying months. I really truly believe that. Excuse me. And I think that Texas, Houston, is to show you what's to come. So as we come to you today, we thank you, we bless you, we praise you. Abba, we give you all the honor and the glory. Abba, we thank you for everything you have done and what you continue to do. Abba, we just ask that you let us be able to get understanding of reality. Let us stop living in la-la land, la-la world, hoping. We understand that the word hope is wishing for something that may never happen. We understand that your people, our people, we as a people, have been misled, misguided by the enemies. We understand that we have fallen prey as a victim, depending on man to do something for us when we basically should just depend on you. And your gift that you have given us to prosper the people. Because you did say your gifts will make room for you. If we only operated and moved in our gift, Abba, we ask that you help us and lead us and guide us and cover us. We ask that you continue to take the fish scales off our eyes, unplug our ears, and open and close our mouths. Abba, your people are in grave danger. We know there's only a third of us going to make it, Abba. And we know that you don't want many to die, perish. But we do understand that a lot of them are going to perish. But let it come and come quickly so that we can be able to start restoring the land to the way you want it to be. Abba, forgive me, forgive my family for the sins that we have committed. Forgive those who are listening to me today for the sins that they have committed, knowingly and unknowingly. Abba, direct our footsteps and lead us and guide us and cover us in the ways in which you want us to go. And in all these things we pray in your higher name, so let it be. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Woke you up in your captivity, haven't I? Sent my son to free you mentally, haven't I? Showed you the gods of your enemies, haven't I? Gave you a heart that you remember me, haven't I? Help you understand your pain, haven't I? Did I give you back your name, haven't I? Showed you everything is vain, haven't I? A narrow path is the way. His word don't come by void. An everlasting covenant he made we can't avoid. We still see that rainbow in the sky, cause this is story. The almighty power of y'all give him glory. Babylon is falling right before you. Haven't I? Hosea 1 and 10, y'all we royal. Haven't I? The valley of the dry done came alive. Haven't I? Hosea 6 and 2, we been provided. Haven't I? He done sent his messengers, don't spread up our eyes. He done sent Messiah, laid his life down and died. He telling all his prophets, y'all, that he done heard our cry. He telling all his prophets, y'all, that he done heard our cry. Send your mighty hand. You see the affliction, but get us out this lane. We know you don't change, but do it all again. Lifting up this rod over water, trust your plan. We gon' trust your plan.